it's been a busy week across the NBA with the playoffs going on, of course. Round two, we're in the conference semifinals. A couple of teams have already punched their tickets to the conference finals, and we're waiting for who they will face up against. So we'll talk about all of that, the sweeps, talk about LeBron, what's next for him, possibly retirement, free agency, or returning back to Lakers for one more year. You got to talk about the game fives that happens for the Spurs-Wolves, Pistons-Cavs, the Pistons blunder at the end of the game there, and then a preview into game sixes, which will be on Friday nights. This is Ballin Out. Sean Nate Grant back with you guys. Real quick before we do get into everything, just want a quick tribute, RIP to Brandon Clarke and Jason Collins. That was some sad news. Came out on Tuesday, to see basically it was back to back within a couple hours. I know Clarke was kind of a little bit more, I guess, widespread just because of, he was an active player and it was, definitely took some people by storm. So definitely, prayers to their families and everything like that. To both Brandon Clarke and, Jason Collins, who was kind of a pioneer around the league and everything. So yeah, I just wanted to give a quick, tribute to them real fast before, we get into the sweeps. There are two sweeps that took place this past week, Knicks and Sixers. Knicks booted the Sixers on out of the playoffs, four games. The Thunder did the same to the Lakers, easy 4 games. Thunder are 8-0 in the postseason so far. I believe it's they have the longest streak of not losing a game, to start the postseason since the Warriors. So that is obviously key, to winning a championship there. I guess, starting with the Knicks, depending on, regardless of who comes out of the Pistons-Cavs series, should the Knicks be the favorites right now to come out of the East to go to the finals to presumably play, I think, the Thunder?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Just in the sense that, one, we can give both sides credit. Knicks look really, really good at the moment. Their offense is firing on all cylinders. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think OG was cleared. I think he'll be back for conference finals game one, maybe two, they were saying.
He should be.
Worst case there. So yeah, they'll be back. And I mean, he's just been killing. I think he's been a really big piece to their playoff success so far this season. But yeah, I mean, they really just dismantled the Sixers there. I mean, it was really not even a competition besides maybe the second game there. I mean, it was really good second game, but I mean, first game was one of the largest ass whoopings I've ever seen, followed by one of the largest ass whoopings I've ever seen in game four. So, um, yeah, just give kudos to the Knicks. They looked really good. And kind of to your point of, the Eastern Conference final winner, why I have the Knicks is because, frankly, the Pistons and Cavs right now, in my eyes, just haven't proved that they're playing at the top of their game right now. I think there's still a lot of room for both teams to improve on. Obviously, for our hometown team, we've been watching more of the Pistons there, probably keeping a closer eye on them. But for us, obviously, it's can Jalen Duren ever decide to wake up and really just go crazy like he has in the regular season? So for those reasons and just us not looking great, and honestly, I mean, still don't even know who I'd take right now coming out of the series. I mean, I know I said Cavs in 7, but right now, I think if Pistons get it back at home, I mean, the way last game ended, you got to show some fight. So I don't know. I mean, we'll talk more about that, but for those reasons, that's why I would have the Knicks though currently. Just I think they're playing at the top of their game at the moment, and they just look good too. And I know we can talk about maybe the opponents and all that, but yeah, I think Knicks definitely. Um, I would take probably in 5 or 6 honestly right now, just the way they've been playing. I mean, both teams. I mean, Cavs just won their first road game. The whole playoffs. Talk
Mm-hmm.
about the Thunder not losing a game. Look at what the Cavs doing. Look at what we're doing. So I definitely think there's some room for improvement there. But kudos to the Knicks as well.
I agree with you too, Grant. It's looking like the Knicks are the best team so far in the East. It's hard just because I think Philly, maybe they weren't necessarily ready game plan wise to go up against the Knicks. It really seemed like they were trying to force a lot of stuff with Maxey in those last 2 games, and he just couldn't really find his groove, which is disappointing. I wanted to see them have a good series there, but for Philly, I don't know. They just recently got rid of Daryl Morey, so I know there's going to be some change in the front office situation there. So I'm interested to see how they proceed in this offseason and what they do. Is Embiid on the table now? Is he someone that could potentially go to a different team? But yeah, it's gonna come down to I think these last two games against Detroit and Cleveland, how they kind of show just defensively. I think there's been a lot of turnovers on both sides, but really, I feel like the Knicks are so good offensively right now that it's going to be hard, regardless of what team they play, to try to stop them with how many weapons they have. So I am excited to see the Eastern Conference Finals, regardless if it's a Cleveland or Detroit. But it does look like New York is probably you could probably pencil them in early.
Yeah, they're on a 7-game win streak ever since that ugly game 3 back in the first round against Atlanta. They've really came out and asserted their dominance a little bit, and yeah, they just look like a completely different team. I know I had my doubts like throughout the season, like were they ready? Were they Mike Brown, like could he be on the hot seat and everything like that? But they've kind of figured it out and pieced it together. And like you said, Grant, OG Anunoby kind of having I'd say like the best postseason, that he's had in his career, really stepping up. Definitely makes the Knicks scary, I'd say. And I think us, and I think most NBA fans want a Pistons Knicks opposed to Cavs Knicks, just because it'll be a physical battle, and what happens during the regular season, the Pistons sweeping them 3-0. So yeah, I hope we'll get into it a little bit here, but I hope the Pistons can get it done against the Cavs, so they can. We know they want that matchup too, but they got to take care of business against Cleveland first. And then on the other side, in the West, the Thunder, they just look like they're in cruise control right now. I mean, do they lose a game before the finals? Is I think the biggest question right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point there for sure. I think, and we'll get into it later too. But I really do. I think Spurs will edge out this series here. They'll get it done. But even the way the Thunder are playing now, I think Spurs will give them maybe one of the best matchups, and it still might be like a 4-1, 4-2 type of thing. Um, I think that just says how good the Thunder really are. I think we've been talking about it all year, even last year with how good they were. It's just they're really just continuing to build on their success, and now that they've done it before, they don't seem like any less hungry to try to get another one. But sometimes you see maybe just not like, obviously they want to win a championship, but maybe not the urgency, not the, the will kind of determination, like how you are going after like, your first one. But they look exactly kind of the same, and they look damn good while doing it. I mean, I think the Lakers obviously were just outmatched. I was kind of saying this last round when we were talking about it, but I think it would have been a little different series if Luka was there. I'm not saying Lakers. I think outcome still would have been the exact same. I think Thunder would have won it, but maybe we're talking Lakers get 1 or 2 on them. But even that, I think that's best case. Lakers would have got 2. I just think that Thunder team was playing really well, and Lakers were also kind of crying about a lot of fouls. So I think they just needed to kind of play the game, and I think the Thunder just kind of got to a little bit. I mean, it's tough. Like it really is tough going against Thunder, and then when they felt like they weren't getting the whistles either, it's just like I feel like they kind of retreated it back a little bit, and Thunder just took advantage of it. And yeah, in my opinion, I think they'll win. Like I was mentioning, either 4-1, 4-2 over Spurs if it's that, or if it's Timberwolves. I think it's a clean sweep.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next series. I do agree, Grant. I hope it's San Antonio just because I think they probably match up a little bit better compared to Minnesota. But yeah, that series was just as a Lakers fan kind of hard to watch. Like they are just insanely deep in their rotation. I mean, when you have AJ Mitchell pretty much averaging like 25 plus every game, and then Shea goes off for 30, in the last game or so, there's not really much you can do. And does speak to the Thunder's ability to really just like, I think, turn it on when the time matters. I think at the end of this regular season, they were coasting a little bit, but I mean, they're different. I would not expect, or I would not be surprised if they clean sweep in the conference finals either, and then they go into the finals. Uh, so really sad as a LeBron fan. Sean, I don't know if he's going to retire. I don't think he will, but I don't know if he should play in LA again next season, unless LeBron's at that point too, where if they give him a $40 million contract, he might just say, I'll take it because that's home for him. But yeah, it's for the Lakers, they were never gonna give him any sort of comp. I feel like.
Yeah. Grant, what's your thoughts on what's next for LeBron? Does he call it quits?
I don't know, man. He's been golfing too much lately. It's freaking me out. I mean, at the end of the day, in my opinion, I think there's only two options for him. I don't think there's any chance he stays with the Lakers. I think at this point, and also hold on, a little sidetrack too. Did you guys see the article that came out about LeBron complaining about Pelinka giving the game ball to JJ Redick
I did see
over?
that. Yes.
I'm a
Yes.
LeBron guy. I'm a LeBron guy. We all know, but that was the softest thing I think I've ever seen. Yo, bro, you're a 41-year-old man, bro. It's a game ball. Like that one caught me off guard. I can't lie, but I don't know. I think part of that too is I think he's just ready to get out of there for some reason. I don't know why, really. I mean, I guess the Lake. Like at the end of the day, like it's a huge organization. LeBron is definitely, he's paved the way. He's done his thing. Obviously, give him his flowers, but he's at the end of his career now. It's like I wouldn't expect him to be like the focal point of like the Lakers right now. Like I respect what he's done. Like if I'm the Lakers, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But like I'm not respectfully going to like cater to all your like the moves now at this point. Like we got Luca, we're trying to do this. Like I get it from both sides, but I just think right there that the relationship is cooked, if you will. And so I don't know where he would go. That's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of options at this point. He could basically just do a 1 year deal with, I mean, almost anywhere really. If you want, if the money's right, of course. I mean, I don't know. He might he might want to
Not
go for that.
Memphis.
Yeah, it's anywhere
Ah.
but Memphis. Actually, anywhere but Memphis. He said, and probably Boston too. I don't think he's going to Boston either. So any one of those two in my eyes. I mean, he might just go back to the Cavs. Who knows? I mean, um, I really don't know. In my opinion, like I think I was telling James this just yesterday or whatnot. So I think it's probably about 30-70 he retires.
Mm.
Um, I still think he comes back for 1 more year, but I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know what the feeling is around for everyone, but I feel like a lot of people like just assume he's coming back. But I think the chances are still pretty high that he does like look at retiring. I know. Another thing too, like, I don't know, get your guys' thoughts. Do you guys think he's gonna do a retirement tour? Like if that's the case, because I could see him not doing one, honestly. Like, and I've been told that I'm ludicrous for that, but yeah, I
I
wouldn't
don't even know
shock
how
me
that'd be
personally.
possible. Like if he announces it, teams regardless, they're gonna be doing something for him. But
Mhm.
yeah, it is hard to think that and maybe just because they weren't as good in the playoffs, now it's more like, okay, I can see him not playing next year. But you just I don't want him to end his career getting swept by the Thunder. Like that just seems like a tough way to go out. I feel like if anything, he just needs to try to do what he did back in Cleveland and rebuild the whole roster. Um, get rid of Ayton, get rid of Kennard, get rid of all these guys who essentially didn't give you anything in the playoffs and try to run it back with Luca and Reeves one more time. But yeah, it probably is close to that, 70-30 where he probably won't tell anyone. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if he does come back, it's gonna be Cleveland. I think that's realistically like the only place. Yeah, call it, one last hurrah, like you said, Grant, a farewell tour, back at the hometown. But I could see him retiring. Like I could see him
Uh-huh.
just calling it quits here. And just because like you have to have now it's the NBA where it's the younger teams that are making the deep push in the postseason and are fighting, for a championship team. And then you got teams like, the Pacers, the Wizards, Jazz, and that are coming back healthier, younger, good draft position and things. So, it's not going to be an easy decision, wherever, if he does decide to come back, wherever he goes. And it's not going to be, a guarantee that he does automatically, like, you can pencil him in for, one last hoorah in the finals or whatever. So, yeah, I think, just I was watching his press conference the other day. I think he said, he's going to take some time and, decide. And, it sounded like it was basically like his daughter's decision whether or not, he was going to retire or whatnot. So, I mean, that could be one thing, but I know, Granny, you've said it before. He looks like he just wants to golf now these days. So, who knows? Maybe he could, pull a Jordan and, become a professional golfer or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if, he goes that route. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of tricky. I'm sure like the whole off season is going to be around him. And then also, Giannis now that he formally requested, a trade. Those two are going to be, the biggest things, this summer. And I'm sure there's going to be an article a day about, who he could go here or there. Like today I saw apparently him and Luca didn't have the best relationship, which, I mean, you can take what you want with that. But I mean, do I believe it? Yeah. But at the same time, like, I don't know if that's true. I feel like, yeah, like you said, Grant, the one thing about the game ball, because you got the most wins in NBA history, is a little bit more like, man, give it to JJ. 100 wins, that's more of an accomplishment than you, man. Like you got your game balls, okay? You got yours. Let somebody else, get something else. So, yeah, like I said, I'm sure like that'll be the topic of the summer. Especially if OKC wins it, I'm sure somebody will form some super team or something like that to kind of take the thunder out of it. So who knows? The Lakers got a couple questions to figure out, especially Reeves. I think is top on their list. Trying to re-sign him and possibly bringing Brown back on a minimum or something like that. So yeah,
Whoa, minimum.
Minimum? It's crazy.
Yeah,
I,
well,
I
I don't
mean,
know.
He good for like 10 mil though. He can take 10 mil.
Yeah, at 30
I'd
more
give
than
him the
that.
minimum. He's got his millions. If he wants to really win a championship, go somewhere and win a championship. Say he goes to OKC, he's taking the man. He's taking
See,
that
I
man.
gotta see. See, that's my thing. Like, if I'm a team right now, like Nate, you signing Brown for 40 million?
Nah, but like
I'm signing. I'll sign him
Rich
for like.
Paul is not gonna let LeBron sign for no
Uh,
minimum.
well, that's true.
I'll sign him for like 20, 25 million, probably
Yeah, yeah.
max. That'd probably be
That
yeah.
I can see him do that. Like take a 10 mil, pay cut, but
Yeah.
minimum's like 6 mil, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
LeBron ain't
crazy,
doing that.
Sean. That's yeah. That was
Calm down
who do
on
you
that.
think he is, bro? Who do you think he is?
He a better businessman than that.
You know he's stingy as hell too. He's so stingy. He's trying to make every last dime. He probably will make 50 million.
Hey,
He'll
he's trying
probably
to
make
own a
50.
team. He
That
needs
is
as much
true.
money as he can get.
True. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, like if he went to Golden State, though, him and Curry, like I think he'd have to take a minimum there just because, like, money wise. So, like I said, we're gonna have a bunch of discussions about that this summer. I'm sure. It'll be the talk of the town. But for now, we got some game fives to cover and talk about. Spurs and Wolves on Tuesday night. Spurs beat the Wolves 126-97. The Spurs have a 3-2 lead going into game 6 on Friday. Wemby, who was ejected in game 4 for the crazy elbow against Naz Reid, and then acting like, yeah, what happens? What's a flagrant 2? He avenged, got his lick back. The Wolves were in it. The game started. The Spurs were, went on their little run. Wemby scored like the first 16 points, and the Wolves came back. It was a close game at halftime, going halftime in the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter, the Spurs, they closed it out, winning a 26-7 run to, close out the game. I think, for me, like, shout out Dylan Harper. I mean, he's been just hooping. I mean, for a rookie, the third overall pick, he's looking like a vet out there and, really, like, fits well with this team. He's the perfect bench guy for the Spurs. And, on the Wolves side, like, Ant can't do it by himself. Julius Randle, I know you've called him out several times, even during the first round, but like, where is Julius? If the Wolves want to win game 6, they're going to need somebody to, step up, outside of Ant. I think Ant, though, comes out. He might go crazy. He got an extra day of rest. He got the 2 days in between. So he might be, a little bit healthy. I know he said in his presser he was glad to have 2 days off. So, that could mean something. We've seen this before where the Wolves were down 3-2 against Denver, and he came back and won, beat it in 7. So we could see that, but I think Game 6 will be, regardless of who ends up coming out winning, I think it'll be good. But what's you guys' thoughts about Game 5 and predictions Game 6?
Yeah, I mean, everything you just echoed basically about Game 5, I'm with you there. Um, I mean, they really ended up just kind of putting it on them too at the end there. Spurs, I mean, that's what I was kind of mentioning too. I think the Spurs team really is just dominant, and I think what you exactly said with Ant, like he just can't do it all. But one thing too is like they're really missing DiVincenzo. Like if he didn't go out, not saying it's different, but like you just get just an extra guy that just is a good shooter, could help help Ant out. It's just it's gonna go so far if you were to have him back on the court. And Julius Randle, he just has to find it simply. I mean, I know matchups wise, he can kind of get switched on to some bad matchups there and stuff. But when you got the good matchups, that's what you gotta look for. You gotta give Ant a break here and there because he can't just. He looks completely healthy out there. I'll give him that, but like I don't think he's driving to the rim as much. He's kind of settling for a little bit more, but that's about it though. Other than that, like it's
Yeah.
like he's basically looking 100%, but you can tell you need somebody else like that, especially again, just kind of echoing how good the Spurs team really is. Dylan Harper, like you mentioned, I'm genuinely impressed with how he's played. He does not look like a rookie out there. I mean, he's getting tween behind the back, doing this, whatnot, and then dunking it on whoever the AIO's head, whatever. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
he's just special. So I mean, it's the whole team is just playing nice right now, and really the two games the Timberwolves got were Wemby getting ejected, and the first game I still don't know how they won that. I still like I mean Wemby played terrible, but he had the most blocks of all time or whatnot or something.
Yeah.
But I mean he shot the ball terribly. So even the two games the Timberwolves got though, it's like it came down to I mean Wemby literally getting ejected, and then still that first game just Wemby not shooting the ball great, 0 for 8 or 0 for 7, whatever, from the three. But yeah, I think again, kudos to Spurs, but like you said, I mean, it really just comes down to Timberwolves got to get more help, other than Ant, because if not, it is gonna be wraps on Friday.
I agree with that. I don't really know how to like explain this in a PG fashion, but Rudy Gobert last game, what I saw, he just he got laid down by
Uh,
Wemby. He just he couldn't really do anything about it. I don't know really what to think about Rudy sometimes because there are flashes where he has good sequences on defense. But last game, I mean, I'm looking at the stats and it doesn't tell the whole story, but like 4 points, 5 rebounds. He's a negative 15 plus minus. He's got to be better against this team specifically. And, the whole scout report, Wemby. And that will hopefully, like we were saying, make guys like Randall have some better looks in transition or whatever it might be. Because if the Timberwolves want to win this one, yeah, they need more help, but they also just need more of a defensive presence from their big man. But the Spurs, I think, Grant, you said it perfectly. If Wemby isn't really on, in terms of like on the floor, literally, or just not shooting well, then that's kind of a world of a difference for their team. But it was encouraging to see. Yeah, like you said, Harper play well. Um, Keldon Johnson had a good game too. I think that was one of the something that stuck out to me is he was kind of struggling just the last couple games, and it was nice to see him, put up some buckets. But this game 6, I mean, it's going to be in Minnesota, so I think if Ant comes out aggressive and he has that rest that he needs, and he can get some offensive help from guys like Shannon or Rudy, Io, any of those guys, then they can definitely make it a game. I want to see Jaden McDaniels have another big game, but the Spurs, they gotta keep doing what they're doing. I think they had all the momentum that whole game last game, and it hopefully should carry over to this next one.
Yeah. What's predictions for Game 6?
Yeah,
Spurs.
yeah, they bouncing them. They bouncing
Oh,
them for
okay.
show.
Okay.
Like, no question about it. I think honestly, I think Wemby goes in there, dominates. Dylan Harper dominates. I think we actually get Champagne. He gonna pop off too, pop the champagne. Yeah, I think I just think Ant's gonna get tired at some point a little bit. I mean, I get you said the rest and all, but Wemby got that rest too. They all got that rest. So it's like same time, Spurs. I mean, again, Wemby's just so funny too. I don't know what he meant when he said, "What's that mean?" Like, bro, you've been playing. You're in the NBA.
They play
Yeah.
basketball his whole life too, and you're like, oh,
So I
what the
say,
frick do? Like, why?
what's that mean? Like, bro, I knew that. Anybody knew that. Anybody watching in America knew that. So yeah, that was just crazy. But I don't know. I think I know. Last game was at the Spurs and everything, and it was rocking too. I don't know if you guys how much that you watched, but I watched especially the beginning of it. That place was just on fire. I mean, that place was loud, and so I think they'll carry some of that energy over. And uh, I just yeah, at the end of the day, I think the Timberwolves are just missing too much. If they had some other pieces there, if Randall was, because I think even at the day, if Randall plays, one of his best games there and plays great, they're still, in my opinion, a dogfight if, the Spurs aren't playing like at the top of their game. I think if they're playing good, like if Spurs are just playing solid ball, the Timberwolves almost have to play like, I mean, extraordinarily great. And I don't see that happening.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm going still Wolves just because in this series I picked Wolves in 7, but it is getting to the point where yeah, Ant's gonna need help, and the way the Spurs are playing right now, like you said, like Harper's hooping, Fox is contributing, at times, but like, yeah, you haven't had that Champagny game yet, where he goes crazy. You haven't had, you had your Keldon Johnson game, but even like, Stephon Castle, like he hasn't had like his breakout game yet, in this series as well. So it's gonna be, I think overall, like you said, a good game in Minnesota. I think obviously they're gonna have the place rocking. The crowd is definitely going to play a factor in it, a little bit. But yeah, we just need, I think the Wolves need somebody else to step up outside of Ant. And really, it's been this whole series, Ant and Naz Reid, that have kind of, been carrying them so far, game to game. So I'd like to see, maybe Isle, step up and have a good game. Jaden McDaniels, he's been kind of non-existent. Last game he fouled out, so those two guys are key, especially without having Dante DiVincenzo, who is about 18, 20 points a game too. So, yeah, game 6 will be fun for sure. But before that game 6, we'll have the Pistons-Cavs game 6. Just recap game 5 real quick. Pistons lost 117-113 in OT. We all saw Pistons about 2.5 minutes left in the game, up 9. Had the place rocking. The Pistons blew it. Cavs hit some timely 3-pointers. Max Strus went off. James Harden continues to go off after not showing up game 1 and 2. Games 3, 4, and 5, he's kind of shown up a little bit more. 30 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 11 from 14 from the free throw line. That's, you could say what you want about how the games are played or called by the refs and everything, but at the end of the day, you can't blow a 9-point lead. Jalen Duren is losing money by the second every time he's on the courts. He's wearing 0 for a reason. And, I just like the Pistons, it was sad to me to see like Cade just a good performance throughout the game. And in the fourth quarter, him kind of falling off, especially, with the turnovers. Yes, I know the Cavs were kind of, they changed the game plan and were double teaming, sending 2 at him. But I mean, Tobias has got to be better, after having, a stellar playoffs, games 4 and 5. He has not been his best. Karis LeVert is out there just because we need Duncan back. Hopefully for game 6, he can come back. But I mean, I don't mind, Dan is starting. Dan is starting. He looked good in game 5. But, and then, like I said, we got the whole Jalen Duren thing. Paul Reed, steps up when his number is called. But yeah, I'm gonna go. Prediction: Pistons. People say series. It's not a series until the road team wins. Now we have a series. Cavs up 3-2. I think the Pistons. You're gonna need number one, defense. Can't get into foul trouble. Can't let the fouls get to you. Can't go on these runs where you're just scoreless for about 3-4 minutes in the game. I do like the Pistons' chances to get, all you gotta do is just win this game, and then, it's a winner go home in game 7 back in your home court. I think they can get it done. It's not gonna be pretty. It's not gonna, be an easy win, but I think they can get it done. Mind you, James Harden game 6 and game 7 we've seen this story before when he's up 3-2, most notably back when he was in Philly against Boston, was up 3-2, game 6 and 7, he was a no-show. And that's happened before in Houston and everything like that. But I like the Pistons' chances. What were you guys' thoughts and predictions for tomorrow's game?
Yeah, so one thing you ain't gonna like this show, unfortunately, but back in those days, like what I will say is Donovan Mitchell right now is hooping. Like he's hooping.
Yeah.
He's I mean we saw what he did to Cade. He abused him. It was bad. He even said some things too. It wasn't great. So seeing that, seeing our dog like that, get worked wasn't great. And I'll say the fact that James Harden doesn't have to go like completely iso ball like he did with the Rockets. I mean, Sixers it wasn't as much as the Rockets, but definitely, right up there. Wasn't asked to do as much of that. And so I think with Donovan Mitchell, it's tough. I know we're playing him really well defensively. I mean, Asar Thompson right now I mean, if Wemby didn't exist, then my goodness, he's up there as well for, I mean, almost every defensive player. He's phenomenal, truly. He can guard just about feels like 1 through 5. Honestly, it feels like I mean down low if you got a center, he's stripping them. I mean blocking. It doesn't matter. He's just a different animal out there. And so yeah, definitely give us some credit there defensively, but I do worry about kind of long term for that game 6 there because game 5, like you mentioned, man, you just at home too when we go on those lulls where they score 25 unanswered. That's at home too. I mean, you just simply can't do that. And I know this playoffs we have played better with our back against the walls, kind of a little bit more pressure and stuff. So I'm hoping this is a good kind of kick in the ass we need. And I still think at the end of the day we will take this one. Um, just because I do agree with you there in the sense that James Harden might not play as great, and I think down the stretch. I think we're going to take a couple things from game 5 and really transform that. And I think we're going to close out strong, whether it be close game, blowout, whatever it be. I think we'll finish strong. And so for that reason, I think we just have to win game 6. I mean, game 7, I still think it's going to be up in the air. I think it's going to be tough for us to lose that one if we were to get there. But I mean, we'll have to see there. I think game 6 will be very telling in the first half to see kind of
Mm.
how we come out. Are we going to be ultra aggressive? Are the Cavs just going to be shooting the lights out? Are we going to be shooting the lights out? Because I mean, Giannis came in there and he gave us a spark right off the bat. He started cooking because Tobias, he was 0 for 6, I believe, to start, but then kind of settled in a little bit and then went back to sleep. So it was,
Yeah.
just these lulls that just keeps happening. That's why, I go back to where we talked about the Knicks, and why I think that they're just such a heavy favorite. It's just we just have these moments where yes, we are a great team. Yes, we do certain things very, very well, but we do other things extremely poor.
Yeah.
And in the playoffs, we've mentioned it so many times. That's you just can't have that happen. Unfortunately, it's a different ballgame. It really is. And so, definitely like I think it's gonna be a really close game. I mean, I think game 6 will be really, really, really close. But I do have Pistons winning that one.
Yeah, this game was frustrating to watch just because of how we ended it. I think, Sean, off of what you said, it really does come down to the defense. This is the 3 games in a row now where they've scored over 110. And I feel like the first 2 games, Cleveland, like you said, they made some adjustments offensively. I think they were a lot more stagnant and just giving the ball to Harden or Mitchell and kind of, saying, guide our offense. But I feel like now Detroit's kind of turned into that where it's either give the ball to Cade or Tobias and try to get us an isolation bucket where we need to be kind of moving the ball around a little bit more on offense to find, what little shooters we do have right now. But for defensively too, it's like that game, I feel like some of our rotations were just really slow closing out and it just kind of looked like we didn't want it as bad as we needed it. But like, yeah, you can't have Max Strus going 6 for 8 from 3 and then expect, something to change when you're not really doing anything different on defense. And, that's on JB. He's got to figure out maybe it is having a smaller lineup in there, regardless of if they have Mobley and Allen in there to try to just, be faster on defense. Because there was one call where Duran had like a 3-second defensive call, and it looked like he was just like ball watching. And it's like,
Yeah.
regardless of if your man is right next to you or not, he wasn't really like in the play whatsoever. So they got to make a change defensively in Game 6 here, but also offensively. Yeah, like they just got to be faster on getting intercepts and moving the ball around, and I think that will hopefully get us some better looks and give us a better opportunity to actually take one on the road here. Because from how we played in Cleveland, I mean, it wasn't very promising. So I think we're gonna have to do something different. You can't just go back and expect the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think too, like main last takeaway from yesterday's game was just yes, we all know like Paul Reed, what he's been doing and stepping up in place of Jalen Duren, because he's been a no show. But like at the same time, you can't. Why wait until the fourth quarter to bring him in? Like if you wanted to go like a smaller lineup, try that in the second quarter. Especially when you went on that run. You went on that run, and then the lead cut down to 7 when you bring Duran in. Call a timeout, and maybe bring Beef Stew back in, or say, hey, Paul Reed, we're gonna bring you in. So, but I do, despite what the numbers have said and everything, I do think that Jalen Duran got a wake up call yesterday, sitting out the last 5 minutes in the fourth quarter, sitting out overtime. I think he finally was like, okay, well, yeah, I need to be better. He's been saying it all throughout the playoffs, just in his pressers, that, yeah, he's his big critic and things like that, but nothing has improved. And so I think that, yes, I do credit JB for finally putting his foot down and being like, hey, you're out the gate, right? We got to take you out. So I do credit him for that. But at the same time, especially on that free throw in overtime when Harden missed and Cade did not box out. Maybe that was the time to bring him in, just so you could get the rebounds. But at the same time, like that's blunder on Cade, for not boxing out the shooter. I mean, they teach you that stuff in second grade, third grade, to box out the shooter. So, yeah, there's just like you guys both said, there's been things that we have done well. There's been things that they haven't done well, but it's just really since game 2 have not been able to put it all together. Right. So, yeah, I mean, history has before the Pistons, just like last series against the Magic, they were down 3-1, came back and won in 7. There is a scenario back in the history books where the Pistons have done it before. They won the first 2 games, Cavs won the next 3, and the Pistons did it, close it in 7. When the Pistons were the 1 seed, Cavs were the 4 seed. Could there be a little, foreshadowing there? Hopefully, for our sake. But yeah, they're gonna have to play better all around and just execute the full 48 minutes. And I think that's been a thing too, that we have these stretches where we play good, but we can't put it all together for all 4 quarters. And I mean, it is difficult to not having a number 2 option out there, that can step in place of Cade. You can tell that Cade is tired, sometimes being too like lazy, lackadaisical, with just bringing the ball up and everything of that matter. I mean, game 3 was a perfect example when he did that inbound and it basically passed it right to Max Strus in his hands and the layup. He did it again last night, pass in, Max Strus steal and layup. So Max Strus has been, credit to him. He's been great for the Cavs. And like I said, hopefully the Pistons can get it done. Hopefully James Harden has a notorious game 6, game 7, where he just doesn't show up and the Pistons can get it done and move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. But like you said, Grant, right now, the way that regardless of who comes out of this series, it looks like the Knicks are going to easily, I probably wouldn't say easily, but they're going to have their way to the finals, as long as they, play the way they've been playing. So, yeah, hopefully Friday's games, should be pretty good. Both those game 6s will definitely, be on the lookout, be watching to see what ends up happening. And then last thing, before we go, we got the lottery. The lottery is this past Sunday. The Washington Wizards, the number 1 pick. This is the 3rd time that if you have Anthony Davis or you trade Anthony Davis, you're guaranteed to get the number 1 pick, which I mean, I think is pretty funny. The Wizards are in a unique position just because they did make the trade for Trae Young. They did make, the trade for Anthony Davis. Now they have the number 1 pick, so it's kind of, they're in a good position right now. Same thing with the Jazz. The Jazz are number 2. They can, they made that trade for Jaren Jackson Jr. They just had a top 5 pick last year in Ace Bailey, so they kind of are in a good position. So it's the Wizards, the Jazz, the Grizzlies, the Bulls, the Grizzlies, and then the Clippers, who
No, the
made that
Bulls got
trade.
fourth pick.
You're
I
right. You're
thought.
right. Yeah. So yeah, no, you're right. Wizards, Jazz, Grizzlies, Bulls, Clippers. Clippers
Yeah.
get the fifth pick because their GM, they traded for Zubac, and I was so happy, man. I was really happy. I bet on the Jazz to win the lottery, and oh my, I was like, oh, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And of course, one pick shy. So lost on a little bit of money, but it's all good. But yeah, AJ is the presumed number one pick to go to the Wizards. We'll see. Obviously, we'll talk more about the draft lottery and things of that matter. But I mean, did you guys have any real quick thoughts about the lottery?
Yeah, I just want to see where Darius Acuff's about to go. Because if it's the Kings, bro, I'm done watching the NBA, and I feel so bad for him already, man. It's so tragic. Shout out Gavin Gerke because his team is terrible, bro. The Kings they're horrible, and if he goes there, it's where all point guards go to die, man. I'll be all right, or he'll get traded and compete for NBA championship like some other guys. But we'll see.
Hope he goes to the Clippers. I'm not gonna lie. I
That's the fifth
would.
pick there. That's where I think he's projected at the moment was around
Yeah,
5.
I would want them to. Hey, I liked what I saw from Darius Garland, but hey, if we can trade Garland, get another pick later in the first round, get Acuff. I like Acuff, so I think we've
Me
talked
too.
about that a
Me
couple
too.
times. But yeah, no, I'd like that. Nate, did you have any thoughts?
No, I wanted to see what you wanted the Clippers to do. So get Nate. I mean, there's a handful of guards with Fleming and Wagler that they can kind of choose from. I think the first three picks are pretty much, solidified with Debansa, Peterson, and then probably Boozer. But then after that, it's really kind of like take your pick of what guard you want to kind of pair up in that backcourt. Because yeah, I mean the Clippers they could. I didn't even really think about that. They could try to get rid of Garland and get another pick later in the draft, or they could try to pair him with one of these bigger guards. So it's going to be fun to see. I think, especially around this time too, before they've actually done the combine and all this. This is where you see a lot of these mock drafts come out, and you don't really hear a lot about teams, where they might actually end up going. So this is definitely not the time to speculate on where some of these guys are going to go before we get some more information on them.
Yeah, either Acuff or Wilson. I mean, Caleb Wilson too. I'd love to see him, in a
Yeah.
Clippers uniform. But yeah, I mean, it really depends on Darius, really Kawhi Leonard. If they end up trading, I've seen some couple things that they could get traded to the Warriors. That Steve Kerr, is now back. And they're gonna make one last dance. Before they do call it quits. So yeah, we'll definitely keep tabs on that. As we get closer. Like I said, you got the combine coming up, and then as we get closer to the draft, so we'll do maybe a little mock draft episode of our own, kind of see where these guys go, because it is going to be a deep class. It's a deep class, so it's going to be interesting to see where guys end up falling, just based on what team needs and things of that matter. Especially with the top two teams kind of already being in a good position as they are, after the trade deadline, and now they have a top pick. So yeah, really interesting to see, what's gonna end up happening, what's gonna end up playing out. But yeah, so that's all we got for you guys today. We'll keep tabs, on the postseason as we get to the semifinals here in the next couple of days, and yeah, all the way to the NBA finals. But until then, we'll catch you guys.